Rachel Elizabeth, I'm so happy to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I was actually worried. Also, if you check our DMs from my Chasing Heroin Instagram, just don't, because I have fangirl DM'd you for like 2 years, being like, hi, I know you don't know me and you're super funny, but I would like love to have you on my show.
Oh my God. I see like none of my messages and I feel like such a piece of shit all the time. I'm so sorry.
I only have 7,000 Instagram followers and I never see my DMs. You know what I mean? Also, lately, all the requests are sex workers. Have you seen, like, every single request I get is
a group of... Do you get in those group chats?
Yes!
Yes! It's fucking weird, dude.
And I open it and it's just like someone's ass and it's like, watch me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, ah! And I like go right out of the message. So like, I totally understand. I don't get to a lot of mine either. So like, but I was worried when I emailed her too. I was like, she's going to think I'm just kissing her ass because I said, it's not often that a woman can pull off comedic talent as well as being really pretty.
We're stab her right now.
I know. And I was like, shit. And then the next sentence, I was like, I promise you, I don't just say that to any guest. But anyways, I'm very happy to have you here. Welcome. And thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, of course.
So also, kind of jumping ahead, have you considered stand-up?
I'm terrified. Okay, I have. I want to in the future. I am just so scared. Like I looked at your page and I saw that you public speak and stuff like that. I like freeze and get really weird in a group of people. It's very weird, but I want to walk through that fear at some point. Like I want to do that. I've been asked to do public speaking and stuff like that. But like, I always say this, like, I know I'm not good with it. And then I went to my best friend's wedding and I had to make like a little speech and I like wrote everything out. I had it fucking planned, everything. And I bombed it. Like completely. Like my voice was shaking. I'm like reading 1,000 miles per minute. I couldn't look up at anybody. So I want to like, someone I was talking to said I need some media training. Like I need to get comfortable with doing that. Cause I would love to do all that. And I feel like that anxiety part of it and me being so like all of that fear is like holding me back from so much. So I'm gonna, at some point I'm going to really try to do that.
I really think you should do stand up. Plus you're in Austin and the mothership is there
to do it.
And he goes out of his way to host female comics. That's one of the reasons why I know Joe Rogan can be kind of a polarizing figure. But one of the reasons I really like him is because he often brings women on his show and gives them a break. And he'll say, I was just listening to him interview a woman the other day, and he was like, well, it's just so much harder for you guys. You can't joke about sex. You can't joke about politics. You're going to get some asshole in the crowd who's like, oh, shut up, bitch. You know what I mean? And he's like, which is why here you can say whatever you want. And so I've just been thinking, I'm like, she's got to get into stand-up. Do you lead meetings? How do you feel if you lead a meeting?
In a room of addicts, I feel so comfortable. You know, like it's weird, but like I'm going to get there. Like I'm manifesting it that I'm going to walk through that fear and I'm going to figure it out. I just have to take like little baby steps and just exposure therapy really, because I'm not going to get through it until I actually do it. It's just like the thought of it, even like I did a prank call thing yesterday, even recording. I was by myself in my room. And you remember how we used to like prank call people as kids and stuff like that? Like that was fun. And it was so easy. You would just like pick up. I like was getting the number ready in my phone to call. I was literally about to vomit. I had like a stress rash. I'm like, why the fuck am I so scared right now? Like this is insane. So I have some shit I just have to work through and I felt comfortable though. Like by the third one, I felt a little bit more comfortable and it was fine. So it's just like, I need that exposure therapy.
And that's what they do. If you look up like a stand-up comedy class or even improv, I think you'd do really well at improv too. You're in small group session. I'm like your agent. I'm like, I'm like pitching you projects. But so I lived in LA for a long time doing acting and I did improv stuff like that. And they start introducing you in smaller groups. But I also learned about comedy, and there's a type of comedy called observational humor. And that's what you do. Like just telling a story about being a Walmart 10 or the gas station 10, whatever. But what was the prank call you were going to make yesterday? What were you doing?
So I had no plans. It was April Fool's yesterday and I didn't plan anything. And normally I do some shit. I'm a silly goose, you know, like in the street. So I was like, I gotta do something. And so the idea came to me. I was watching Jenna Marbles last week, like her older videos and like where she calls like up businesses and she pretends she's like an employee and she's like, can't come in for my shift. Like I have to buy a horse today or some weird shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me just like freestyle, try to get this going or whatever. And I was so nervous and it was so weird. Also, nowadays where there's like all these automated systems that kind of ruins prank calls, I'm like, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just like, let me try to get this going. I can make a series out of it if it goes well.
Yeah. Did you end up getting someone on the line? Did it work?
I called Domino's and I had this idea in my head to call and like ask if they've seen my boyfriend in there with like his side chick and like just weird shit. Like, I don't know. I was just coming off the top of my head. That's just what came out. And then I called the Holiday Inn and kind of did the same thing. So yeah, it was weird. And I said my name was Clitoria Daniels.
That's actually
and
really
they didn't
funny.
bat a fucking eye. They like paused. They're like, oh, okay.
Also, did you just say, I'm a silly goose out in these streets? Is that what you just said?
I am.
Okay.
I am a silly goose out in these streets. Sure am.
That's hilarious. Never heard that phrase. But that's also why I think the addict style of you, the years you spent in active addiction, when you mix it with normal vernacular, is hilarious. Like silly goose out in these streets. Like you do that a lot. And it's like it works for your humor.
You gotta have a balance, Yeah.
And we'll talk about that though, too, because I want to talk about like your TikTok story and how all of that started to take off. But let's back up and talk about how you ended up on crack and heroin.
In these streets.
In these streets. Yeah, exactly. So I know that you're from New York originally. Yes. Now you're in Austin, but you started in New York. Is that where your family still is? Talk to me about growing up and your family.
So actually, so I'm from New York. I'm born and raised in New York, like, half an hour north of the city. So I got kind of like the best of both world things going on. I grew up in a household where like, middle class, my parents were married and all of that. And I have a younger brother, and as far back as I can remember, like from being, like I'm talking young, like pre-K age, I always felt like not a part of. Like I always felt like on the outside of other kids, on the outside of my family, on the outside of everyone. And I feel like at this point, I just like feel like I was like born with that, like that thinking. And when I look back at it now, I don't think that's what it really was. I just think that was like my conception of myself. Like I was kind of putting myself on the outside of people.
Okay.
But I did have like, nobody fucking liked me when I was like very young. I remember girls being mean to me in pre-K. Like I don't remember a lot about my childhood, but I remember some traumatic moments. Other times I just had like blackout periods. But I remember like in pre-K, I wanted to play Polly Pockets with this group of girls, and they were like, no, you're ugly. Like we're not playing with you, or some shit like that. At like 4 or 5 years old, savage. Like,
so
absolutely
what do you
insane.
think that's about? Do you think does that happen to everyone? Because that happened to me too in 5th grade. I remember walking with my 3 friends and they ran away from me on purpose and left me alone on the playground. It happened to me a lot also. Do you think that happens to everyone?
I mean, I can talk for me and the people that I know. I think most people as kids have some kind of experience like that. You feel things so hard, like so much when you're that age and you're learning and you're growing, and like at that point you don't have any real responsibilities. Your responsibilities are to be a kid, and like if you can't be a kid and play with all the other kids, then it kind of little things can just like completely tear you apart, because that didn't see, when I look back at it now, I'm like, oh, it's like not that big of a deal, but that shit me.
It hurts.
Like
you still remember it. It's like a memory in your brain at 4 years old. So wait, you wanted to play Polly Pockets with them and they said, no, you can't, like a you can't sit with us kind of moment?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So I remember, and I was like 4 or 5 years old,
my gosh,
so I'm like
crazy.
young. Yeah. So I remember that. And from that point on, like I started hanging out with like cooler kids, I guess you could say, in like 5th and 6th grade. Like I made a group of friends, but even when I made friends, I still never felt like a part of them. I'm like, they don't really like me. Like they're just, I don't know why that, whatever. I just always had this idea of myself that like, I just was so different than anyone. I just didn't fit in. Then going on from that, so like 5th, 6th grade, I was very depressed also from a young age, I was on Prozac by the time I was 12.
Really?
Yeah. I started with, I think because my parents were so strict And I lived across the street from a park, and all I wanted to do was like hang out with my friends. And a lot of the time I wasn't even trying to do anything crazy at this time, right? Like I just wanted to go to like a sleepover. I just wanted to like do things with my friends. My dad made this whole plan. He was like, you can have one sleepover a month. You can go to the movies one time every 2 months. Like he had a literal like sheet of what I was allowed to do. So the rest of the time I just felt so excluded from everything. I just felt very alone. That's what I can remember, feeling very alone, very sad. I'm like, no, I can't do anything. Like I had no control over my own life. And I got really, really depressed at like a very young age.
Do you know what made him that strict? Where that came from with him?
I think he was maybe raised like that. You know, I think his parents, my dad's Australian. So my mom is New York Italian. My dad is Australian. He comes from Australia. They're a lot more like by the book manners, like all of these other things, at least in his family. Cause now I look at Australia, I'm like, they're so fucking chill. Where did you come from? Like, you know? But yeah, he was always like, you know, you had to be getting the best grades ever. If you didn't, it was a problem, like nothing. And that's another, I did really well in school in like elementary school. Once middle school and high school, I started not doing the best. And it was like, my best was never good enough, you know? Yeah, I started getting really depressed. I started, you know, self-harming. That was like a thing for me. Food was another huge addiction that like goes back into like me being a tiny child. I just always loved to eat because it made me feel good, right? Like it made me not think of other things. So like we would be at a family party and, you know, there's a whole stack of cookies or some shit out. And my mom's like, okay, take one. I'm like, I take the whole freaking thing. She's like, don't be a gavone. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm sorry.
What does that mean?
Like,
what does that mean?
It means like a pig, basically. Like, you know.
Is that in Italian? Is that Italian for pig?
I guess so. I don't know. She was always like, yeah, I would imagine so. And then I was also a chubbier kid. I wasn't like super skinny. And you know the times we grew up like skinny, like stick thin skinny. So I just feel like I just wasn't following any of the cool trends growing up. I felt ugly. I felt like I was fat. I was just like, nobody likes me. I had a tough time dealing with all that.
Dude, do you remember the Jessica Simpson Us Weekly cover? I think it's burned in all of our brains.
Yeah, with the
She's
jeans
wearing
and the black shirt.
The jeans and they're high-waisted jeans, and it was blasted all over Us Weekly, and it was like Jessica Simpson gained so much weight. Or Britney Spears at the VMAs, when you could kind of see her extensions, and she had just had a baby, and everybody talked so much shit about her for so long.
Insane.
And we see those videos now, and those women were not. That is one thing that I'll say for Gen Z. They have flipped the script on so many of those conversations.
Right.
It is the body type that is like coveted now is so different than it was when we were coming up with Paris Hilton.
Thank God.
Thank God. I know. I'm happy for them. I'm like, I'll see on TikTok these girls that would have been considered heavy for us. And underneath every chick is like, you have my body type that I want. You have my body type that I want. And I'm like, well, I mean, not that I want anybody to have any body type that isn't their own, but at least this is more realistic than what we were working with.
Right. We had to be like 98 pounds and nothing, like just a stick. So
which I wasn't
never
either.
like that. Right.
Yeah. So. The self-harm thing, I'm curious about self-harm when someone starts at like 10 or 11 years old. Did you see someone do that? Or how did you think of the idea to cut yourself? Had somebody shared that with you, or was it an instinctual thing?
So I had done it a couple times. My best friend and I remember we were very emotional ass, like young kids. And I remember like we carved our crushes' names into like our legs or something. We did shit like that back in that. Like that was like a normal thing. Someone commented something like that on my post the other day. And I was like, we were all out here just slashing ourselves. Like it was normal. Like this was the thing to do. And I think in that moment it became like when I'm like, okay, this can like take away, like it kind of like dilutes other emotional pain. And then it wasn't like a major thing for me for a while, but then it was 13 came out. Do you remember the movie 13?
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
And so then that brought that back up. And I think that it definitely for me, like, cause I would go, you know, in my bedroom, in my bathroom by myself and do that. But also I'm so self-aware of like these things now. It was absolutely like a cry for help for me. Like for sure, like part of mine, like I need help. Like, you know what I mean? I went to school and I never wanted my parents to know or anything, but I remember like, I'm like, somebody needs to know I'm like hurting like this, like, you know? And I went to school and I had like pulled my shirt up like a little bit like this, and I tore my arm up. Like, I am talking like, oh, like down here from here to like here on my arm is just slashed. And my middle school English teacher in 6th or 7th grade saw it. And then that became like then it became known. And then I, you know, was in therapy and like doing all of these things that didn't really help me much, you know,
Right.
in that time at all. I did not like my therapist that I had. I like couldn't stand her. But she was trying to kind of be this bridge between my parents and I, because like I said, with my dad, it wasn't really my mom so much, but my mom followed my dad's lead in like the strict, like whatever he said went, and there was no room for anything. And, you know, I grew up in a like, there was no explaining anything. It was like, because I said so, too bad you don't like it, that type of thing. And I was like dying inside, you know, like I was not well. And, you know, maybe they just thought I was being dramatic, or they didn't realize like how much I used to sit in my room and just cry and like cut myself for hours. Like that was like my life. That's what I remember from being that age. And I just felt so alone. And I just, you know, so then, yeah, once middle school rolls around, 7th grade, I started smoking. I started smoking here and there. And the first few times I smoked, I didn't feel anything. And I was like, okay, this feels cool. Like I'm doing that, and being naughty felt good, right? Like, 'cause I'm like, oh, it's cool. And then I got high. Like the third time I smoked, it like hit me and I was like, whoa, holy shit, what the hell is going on? What is this? Like, I don't know if you remember your first time smoking, like when you actually felt it, but I felt like I was on acid or some shit. Like it was weird.
Panicked.
It was so, yeah.
I thought we got laced. So I was on spring break in Panama City with a friend of mine who was beautiful. And I was like kind of chubby and not super cute and whatever, but I had this beautiful friend, and like 20-year-old men would hit on her. And we were 15 and she had this perfect body overnight. And literally 20-year-old men would hit on her. And we were in Panama City and these two older guys picked us up and smoked weed with us on the beach just by ourselves. They like drove down onto the sand, and I'm so grateful nothing happened. But we smoked weed and she never had either. And we thought that it was laced with like crack. And we were looking at each other like, oh my God, they're trying to like poison us and kill us. And we just laid in the back of their car. They had the trunk popped. It was like an SUV, and we were laying on like surf blankets, and they were talking to each other and nothing happened. They were totally nice to us. And I've now realized obviously it wasn't laced with crack. But when I didn't know what was happening,
that first time is crazy. I feel like none of the times after that felt like that. Like that first time was insane for me. So once I felt that, I was like, holy shit, this is it. You know?
Oh,
like,
you liked it?
I liked, well, it was very weird the first time, but I escaped. Like, I felt like I was like in a dream as opposed to like reality.
Right, totally.
So I started smoking all the time. Like after that was like that my world basically like revolved around it as much as I could, like all the time. I started hanging out with the wrong kids. I started running away. I also started drinking and stuff like that. And I had something super traumatic happen to me when I was like 13 as a result of me drinking, and like, you know, like super traumatic. And I was just going through like a really, really tough time, but there was no stopping me at that point. Once I started the smoking and drinking, like that was it. Once I went into middle school, I was getting into a lot of trouble. I was doing all these things, and my parents were like I grew up in like a kind of like inner city, you know what I mean? And my parents just were like, we got to do something. And meanwhile, it wasn't even the other kids in the school, you know, like it really wasn't.
That. Yeah, I've heard you say that.
It was me. Like it was me and like my one friend. Most of the kids in that school were not even doing anything like that. Like they were a little ratchet for sure. It was like a ratchet school, you know, it was where I grew up. It was fine. But like there was fighting and whatever, but there was not a lot of drugs and alcohol going on for majority of the kids in that school. So they shipped me to Catholic school. So then I went to Catholic school. Catholic kids know how to party, okay? Their parents all have alcohol. They have the houses. They have like, you know, the big sleepovers. Everyone's welcome, whatever. So then I just started doing even more. And this Catholic school that I went to, it was like 30 minutes from my house. So kids from all over, like kids from all over to surrounding towns within like an hour radius were all over. So then I was able to get out of my house. Like if I wanted to go, my parents were like, oh, your Catholic school friends are probably much better, you know? So, yeah. And so like I started hanging out with friends for the weekend or whatever and doing all this nonsense and being crazy. And then I would just like, we were sneaking out of the house, you know, like the normal shit we used to do. You can't do that shit now with Ring doorbells and stuff. Like, I don't know how the kids are doing it now.
I know. Or Life 360 or anything on your phones. Dude, you can't get away with shit. I have a question, though.
Yeah.
Without necessarily sharing it, if this is something you don't necessarily share, but the traumatic incident that happened when you were 13, did you tell anyone what happened?
No.
Have you ever spoken about that?
Okay. No, I haven't yet, and I haven't really talked about it even publicly here. There was sexual trauma for sure, and like I will definitely go into that story at some point but I haven't even, my parents, they knew some shit happened because after that things got really bad, but I've never gone there yet. So just, it was SA for sure, you know.
And you didn't tell anyone at the time, you just lived with
No,
this.
my friends that were with me, so I was with a group of friends and we were drinking and I passed out, like dead cold passed out. And woke up to a situation that, you know, and my friends knew that day, nobody else. I don't think I ever even really talked about it after that. So yeah, and then after that, I was like, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going balls to the wall now because I didn't know how to deal. And this man that this happened with was probably about 40 years old. And I would see him on my walk to school, to middle school. Like I would see him, you know, like, I don't know where you grew up. When I was 11, 12, 13, grown ass men would pull up to me in a car and try to talk to me. You know, let me get your numbers. Like as I am a literal child, I got hit on more when I was that age than I do now as a grown ass woman, which is sick.
Crazy. That did not happen to me, but I grew up in a very sheltered town. Okay. I grew up in a little tiny southern town that wouldn't necessarily have happened.
Yeah, but New York is built different. They don't fucking care. You get that, hey ma, like, you know, like they'll whistle at you, they'll pull over, they're like,
and you would see him while you were walking? That's so traumatic.
I would see him, yeah. So like, and he would still try to talk to me. I'm like, what the actual my life, right? And like I had no idea how to process any of that. Like I had no idea how to process any of that. So yeah, things got bad. I went to like after running away multiple times, we would like, me and my best friend would like run away with like our weed dealer, you know, and like hang out with him, just smoke all night. And then like we went to school the next morning after running away one time. I don't know why we did that. We were clearly like super hot. We're like, let's go to school because there's nothing else to do. All of our friends are at school. Like, so we went to school and then my parents came and picked me up and I went to the like adolescent psych ward for like 2 weeks. Like that was a thing. So did that. It was super fun. I actually enjoyed I was like, these are my people. Like that was like kind of my first experience with like being somewhere, like kind of like a meeting type thing. Yeah, like when I got to meetings, I was like, oh my God, these are my people. So I got there and I'm like, these are my freaking people. These are my friends. Awesome. I belong here.
Did people know in school, though, that you got 5150 or Baker Act or whatever they call it in New York?
No, I don't think so. No. My parents just came and picked me up. They didn't say a word to me in the car. I didn't know where we were going, nothing. And I was like stoned out of my mind. Like, but I hadn't slept the whole night before. So I just remember being in the back of the car being like, I don't know what's going on, but, you know, so I just didn't really know what to say to them. And I just ended up there. And that was that.
Was there an attempt there to introduce you to recovery or was it just to stabilize you? Do you remember?
I don't remember a ton from that time. They had me on a lot of meds. I do remember this one kid. I always had like, you know, a crush. I met a boy from the Bronx named Angel, and I was like, that's what I focused on, you know, the whole time I was there. That was like, that was what I focused on. I don't really, like, when I think about it, I don't remember much healing going on in there because I wasn't fucking open to it, you know? Like, I was in there with a bunch of other bad kids who did bad shit and, like, you know, that had issues, and I just was like, go with the vibes. I was like, cool, you know? So, yeah, so then the same behavior just kept going on. And then I had started doing like ecstasy. I had tried cocaine. I was trying all these other things and like nothing was ever good enough. Like I always like, I was always seeking out something more, you know, and like me comparatively to my friends, even with just drinking and smoking, like I needed it all the time. They could smoke or drink and then be fine for like a week or whatever, be fine. I was not. I was like, I need to feel something like, or not feel something all the time. Like I need something going on or I'm not okay. So I had started with the harder stuff, like just experimenting. I wasn't doing really anything like every day because I didn't really like Coke. Like I did a shit ton of it just because it whatever, but it wasn't my favorite thing. Then I found e-pills. E-pills was like my first like addiction where I was doing it as much as possible. I also met my kid's father when we were 15. And his mom was like the cool mom. You know, all the kids were allowed to do whatever they wanted at the house. She would lie to my parents so that I could sleep over there. Like, and so once that started happening, then I was like, okay, I have all this time to like do whatever I want. So we were doing massive amounts of e-pills, like whenever. And I've talked about this before, but I realized that was around the time I realized I was different than other people when it came to substances, because when I couldn't get it, and I'm not exaggerating, I would throw a tantrum like a toddler, like screaming, crying. Everyone else's night is ruined, like an absolute psychopath. And nobody else, I'm like, why are you guys not, like, why is this not a big deal to you? Like, you know, because for me, it felt like the world was ending. If I knew like, hey, Friday, Saturday, we have all these days to do this. I knew that like, that's what I needed to do. Other people were just like, yo, like, chill out, relax.
Yeah. How were you guys paying for things?
Probably stealing money, honestly, at that time. I had worked a little job.
Or was he?
I don't really remember in that time. Okay. He had a lot of friends from the city that would come stay, and they would come with like thousands. Like basically his house was like where we like sold, things were getting sold out of there. So it was like, there was a lot of access.
So you just kind of benefited from that more so than having to buy things.
They weren't that expensive. They were like, I remember we got them for like $5, $10, and all you needed was a couple. Okay. Yeah, so they were not expensive. Now, once we got to the opiates, that's where shit started to get crazy. But so one of the nights where I couldn't get the e-pills and I was having one of my tantrums, someone offered me a line of Oxy. And I didn't know what it was. I was like, I'll do whatever because I don't want to feel like this, right? Like, I don't want to feel how I'm feeling. So I did that. I didn't very much like it when I first did it. And I had done Vicodin a couple times. Like we would steal his mom's Vicodin. She was like sick. She had like diabetic nephropathy and had health issues. And like he would take some just whenever. It wasn't such like an out of mind experience compared to like ecstasy or something else like that. So I just never really noticed that I enjoyed that. And then once I did that Oxy, I was like puking immediately. Like I was like, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? But it calmed me down. Like I immediately was like, okay. And I didn't realize that how much I liked it for a little while. But like after that day, we started doing that every single day. And so I didn't realize that it was an opiate. Like I didn't know really what opiates were because it was kind of my first experience like doing all of that. And I'm still in high school. So I go to school one day and like I think my boyfriend also lived 45 minutes from me because remember like I told you, so I went to high school and I met him through a mutual friend from my school who lived 45 minutes away. So we weren't like in the same town. We were far. I used to like take the Beeline bus to like go see like at any cost, you know, like, or he would take the bus to come see me. We would do like weird ass shit. Like, cause I wasn't even driving yet. Like I was so young. So one day I'm walking to high school. I think I was in 10th or 11th grade. And I started feeling like absolute dog shit. Oh, I got kicked out of Catholic school, so I went back to my private school.
Okay, so you went back
so I left that part out. Yeah, I don't even remember what I got kicked out for. It was like something so stupid.
You don't remember? I was just about to ask you why, but you don't really know.
It was something. So it wasn't anything major. Like honestly, like I think I like cursed out the assistant principal or something like that. I don't exactly even remember what it was because it was something so like small that you wouldn't think you got kicked out of school. They were like just sick of me at that point. They were like, get the fuck out. So I went back to public school. And when I went back to public school, because I had been gone for so long, I didn't have any friends I didn't really have any friends anymore. And I was also so focused on the drugs that I didn't care. I didn't even care. Like I was there to get my schoolwork done and leave. Like that was it. And I had enough credits that like every other day I had a half day. And my last period was just gym on my like half day. So I would skip gym and I would just leave. I'm like, I don't do. I almost didn't graduate high school because of gym.
Because of gym?
Yeah, because of gym. Because I was like, hate this shit. Especially I didn't know anyone. Like I was just like felt weird. I didn't like it. So one day I'm walking to school and I just felt like absolute dog shit. I got to school. I'm like, I can't even be here. Like I'm sweating. I'm like, I feel like I have the flu. And that's what I thought. I'm like, I am sick. Like I am dying. Like, so I went to the nurse and she's like, yeah, no, you're sick. You need to go home. So I laid in bed and I was like deathly ill. I remember calling my mom and being like, I need to go to the hospital. Like my whole body, like, just like sweating, chills, my whole body hurt, like more than anything. And then towards the end of that, my boyfriend called me and he's like, oh yeah, you're probably going through withdrawals. And I was like, the f- is that? Like, what is that? I had no idea that happened. I didn't even know. So I had no idea what I was doing. Right.
I didn't either.
So I was like, and then after that, I was like, okay, well, I'm not doing that again. Like, I'm not going to be sick like that again. I'm not going to stop doing these. That would have been the smart, like the rational, that would have been the rational decision.
I've heard you share that story elsewhere because I didn't know either. I didn't know opiates made you sick. I swear on my life, I didn't know. So he told you, and what I think is interesting, and I've heard you share this on another podcast, you were through the kick when he told you that.
I was through it, yeah.
But you decided to start doing it again anyways.
Yeah.
Which is,
because
like you just said, the normal thought process from a non-addict might have been like, oh, I don't ever want to let that happen again.
I'm not doing that again, right.
Yeah.
But I needed it. Like at that point I had realized that it just like took all my worries and my cares and my depression. Like I didn't need to worry about anything. I felt good when I was on it. And plus I could be normal functioning where I'm not like a crackhead out here like Coke or E or whatever. Like I couldn't go to school on ecstasy. They're going to know because I take too many at the same time. I'm going to look like a crackhead. This was something normal that I could do and not be, if anything, I'm nodding out. I'm like, I'm tired, I'm tired.
Totally.
It's fine. So it was just something for me that it just made sense to continue because I was self-medicating. Like that's what I was doing. My internal condition and my mental health was like I was self-medicating my whole life from even being a kid with like all of the feelings of just like being rejected and not feeling a part of and being sad and all of these feelings, even with food, with cookies, with chips, with bags, like I was doing that from a very early age. And then also like we talked about earlier with the lying, I was like, let's rewind for a second. When I was a kid, I lied a lot. Like I just did not like myself as a person. Like I guess I was trying to escape my own life by like lying. I would make the wildest shit up like ever. Like, so my dad's Australian. I had said that he got me like a Kylie Minogue CD. Do you know who Kylie Minogue is?
Yeah, totally.
And I thought at my young ass age, I thought she was like only in Australia. Right. So like I didn't know that the American kids, like that she was in America at all basically. And I don't know if she was or not, but I would play her CD and be like, yeah, this is me. This is my record. I recorded this in the studio. I would tell all my friends. I'm like, yeah, this is literally me. Like, I would make shit up like that. I would like.
Okay, I did that too, though. I made up the wildest stories. So I lived in the Philippines for a few years, and I would tell people the craziest stories. There was a big volcano in 1988, and we didn't even live there anymore. We had moved, but I would tell people we were in the volcano, and we had to be like helicoptered out from the lava, and that's why we left the Philippines. None of that was true. I would come back from the summers with the wildest stories. I thought you were going to say you told people that Kylie Minogue was like your aunt or something, but no, you said it was you singing.
Yeah, I said it was me. I was like, this is literally me on this. I went and recorded it in the recording studio, like I said I had a dog upstairs, like a dog living upstairs in my attic, and like I had this piano, and I would go hard with these lies. Like I had this little keyboard that made a dog sound, so I'd be like, you can't come up here, but just listen, like I was so intricate and like I had all of these stories. I made my whole entire neighborhood. Like I said, I grew up right across the street from like a block park, and I had the whole neighborhood convinced that they were like witches and warlocks. And I used, how gnats, like the little fly gnats, they follow like your body heat. So I got up like on a bench and there was a whole group of them and I was like, like this, and they were moving and everyone was like, oh my God, she's not lying. I would tell the boys, I'm like, if you have this vein in your ear, then you're a warlock. And then I would like look in their ear and like be like, you are. And I would be like, you're part of this now. And we would it was just like so wild. And like, I would make shit up all the time. I also used to like be a hateful ass kid. Like I was really jealous of my friend. Like so my family was very frugal in every type of way. Like you saved up your quarter allowance if you wanted to get anything. Like it was a different generation. I'm grateful for it now because now I like kind of know how to manage money better than a lot of my friends. But like at the time as a kid, when you just want to like get a little treat here and there, my parents were just like not about it. And my friend, I remember she always got like new stuff and like all of this. And she had gotten like a new, like redone her bedroom and like made it like cherry themed and like told me like, okay, like I'm going to do this big reveal. This is so up. I feel so terrible about this, like to this day. So like I like peeked before she showed me. And then I remember being in the living room, like, you know what I hate and I think is so tacky? Cherries. Like I think that is the dumbest shit I've ever, like I think that is like, as long as it's not that, like I love that shit. Her room was so cool. And then she showed me and she was like crying. And I'm like, and I remember them like, I love this girl. You know what I mean? She's literally like my best friend, but I was just so like, I had so much like anger and like hatred like within myself that like I released it in ways like that. And especially towards the people that were like closest to me, which was just like so up because it was all within myself. It was all shit that like I was jealous, you know, I didn't have this. So I had to make her feel like shit about it. Like, cause I couldn't let her just like rub it in my face that like she had these things and I don't and whatever. So yeah, there's been a lot of growth. Thank the Lord, because a bitch was out here for a really long time. I was like,
are you still friends with her?
Yes, I am.
Have you said I'm sorry that I did that?
Yeah, I think it was probably in my amends. I think it was probably in there. I was actually just talking to her yesterday because she's been going through it. But so life was just very much like that. I was just always trying to, you know, escape. So once it was like bad. So then I don't know if you remember. So I was doing the oxys every single day. These were the 80s. Okay. Those shits were expensive. Now, when we first got them, my boyfriend's mom was prescribed them. So they weren't like a lot of money. We were getting them for cheap. And then they started getting more scarce. This was pill mill times. Everyone had a script. Like this person's script they would get it this day and they would like, you know, spot someone to this person and then they would get their script this day. And then like, you know, it went like that. Then they started kind of cracking down a little bit and they were becoming a little more rare. And then they were up to like $65, $100. And I would write in my high school planner, like what kind of, because she would like spot them to us and I had to get the money. And I'm sure I stole a lot of that. I probably, you know, stole out of my mom's like whatever I had to do. And so then they made them so you couldn't, the OPs where you couldn't do them, like they made them so like you
couldn't snort them anymore. A certain way to do them, they put like a coating on them or something. Yeah.
Yeah. They like basically they were gel. So they weren't like powder anymore. Then we went to Roxy's. We went like kind of backwards, which were to the 30s, but we would just do way more of them, you know, like we would just do. And then I started smoking those and then that went on and my baby daddy and I got pregnant. I got pregnant when I was 18.
So did you graduate from high school?
I did. I graduated from high school. Almost didn't because of the gym. I actually did. I did pretty well. I don't know how. I never studied a day in my life. I'm not and that's where I started not doing well in school for a couple years because I'm just not a study person. Like I just would never do that shit. I didn't really care to do that. And if something didn't come easily to me, I didn't care. Like I was just like, whatever. So educationally, I guess I was a little bit smart or whatever. But once I went back to public school, so my grades actually went up at school because I feel like maybe it wasn't as hard as I don't know, whatever. But I ended up graduating with like honor roll, but I almost didn't because of the gym. I had to like make up like run the track and like make up all these classes, which was I hated it so much, but I did it. And I graduated and I got into college, you know, and at that point, I was so codependent with my boyfriend, with my kid's father. Like we were so codependent. We had a completely drug-fueled, toxic-ass relationship. We were inseparable. Like we could not be away from each other at all. So when I was like thinking about going to college, I'm like, I can't go away to college. And that's something that I think about to this day because I'm like, I wonder what would have happened if I would have went away somewhere. But I was also a literal opiate addict at that time. And I knew that I was going to be sick. So that wasn't even an option for me. So I decided to go to John Jay School of Criminal Justice. in the city, in New York City. And I would just commute every day. I would drive.
Did you have a goal of being like a lawyer or a cop or something?
No,
What was your goal?
I took forensics. I didn't know. I didn't have a goal, and that was part of the problem. Like,
okay.
I just thought, I was so ingrained and like it was drilled into me that going to college was so essential for your life that like I had to. So like I was just like, okay, I guess I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. I majored in police studies, which is like, bitch, you are a literal junkie right now, and you're gonna be a cop. And I guess I was like trying to get on the corrupt side of things. I'm like, gonna get some evidence. I'm just like, take it off you, sell some here, maybe a little come up. I guess that was my vibe. I don't really remember. My memory is so bad. But so I did a little bit of college, and then I think like 1 or 2 semesters in, I ended up getting pregnant. And then so once that happened, I dropped out of school, or maybe I finished the semester. I don't really remember. And then I went to community college, like as I was pregnant, and I thought being pregnant was going to like save me from my drug addiction, basically. And it did become a lot easier when I was pregnant to not use, but also at the same time it wasn't, because no one else around me like stopped. My boyfriend and his whole family were using. I was with them all of the time. It was difficult. It was definitely difficult. And then as soon as he was born, we were right back 100 to where we were, so, and I felt like at that time, so now that I'm a teen mom, I have even more rationalization going in my head. Like I didn't get to go to the bars and I didn't get to do all of these things and like go out and be free with my friends. So like, this is my drugs were like my saving grace. I'm like, I deserve this. Like I am entitled to this because I can't do any of the other things that normal like teenagers or young people do.
Where did you guys live when you were raising the baby? At his mom's house?
Yeah, we lived at his mom's, and then like some crazy shit would pop off. I remember we got kicked out of his mom's house because I think he got into a fight with his mom's boyfriend, like a fist fight. And then we lived with his dad. They've both died in the last year, both of them RIP.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Were y'all working? How did you pay for things? Did he have a job?
I worked at CVS, but they would sell his family would sell. They would have their scripts and they would sell what they needed to sell. So everyone had scripts. Like everyone had scripts of shit. So once the 80s went away, his mom started getting the 30s, and then you would get them from everywhere, whatever. So we lived with his dad, and I was in between. I would go home to like my parents' house especially when I was pregnant, because there was a lot of times where I didn't want to be. Knowing I like couldn't use how I wanted to use, and being around all that was really hard for me. So like I spent a lot of time at home. So yeah, we were living with his dad. It was just like complete everything revolved around the pills, and that's how we were living. I think I worked at CVS for a little while, but for the most part, we were just like selling, like making money off of other people and living life like that. I went to Detox for the first time, I think when I was 20. Because my parents once I started smoking, like my mom she was nosy as hell. She looked at my planner and she had seen like, you remember I told you I was writing down like how much we owed to his mom and like all of this. She's like, what does this mean? Like, what does all of this mean? I'm like, no, da, da, da. Once our oldest was born, I started spending more time at home because, to get help with him and, do all these things. And once I started smoking the pills, it was a lot harder to hide. There'd be black shit all over. You needed tinfoil, you needed a straw. Like there was a lot of things going on. So my mom had found stuff a couple times and stuff like that. So I think they wanted me to go detox. So I was like, and I was ready. Like at a certain point when I was ready to go to detox, I was not ready to be sober at that time. But like I was willing to go. I wasn't like fighting it or anything. And then the first detox I went to, they put me on methadone. I was med seeking. I went in there. I'm like, I do 10,000 pills a day and I do Xanax and I do this and I do that. So I was more up in there than I was even like on the outside. They put me on methadone. They had me on Valium. I think they had me on a whole bunch of shit in there. I don't remember one group from that whole, I think I was there for 7 days and they never lowered my dose because I kept saying that I was sick, and then my insurance kicked me out. So I had to go home. I kicked cold turkey methadone at my house. Even for 7 days, that shit was brutal, like absolutely brutal. And I think I made it like a couple days, and then I like said I was going to a meeting, and like I somehow ended up at my baby daddy's house, and like I think I got like a little something, and then I was just back to, I was just, and I had started going, I went to my first meeting I think at like 17 or 18.
Okay.
And once I experienced that, I walked in there and I was like, this is where I belong for sure. Like these people are like me, but I wasn't willing to do the steps. But I started going to meetings every so often, or even a lot, and I would go through spurts where I would go all the time and like whatever. But I thought that the fellowship would kind of save me. I was a meeting makers make it. And that was like all that registered in my head. I never even like considered actually like working the steps or like doing any of that. And I would just be like, yeah, I don't know why it's not working, like, I don't know. And I did that for years. And I would go to meetings high. I would go to meetings high all the time. But that kind of told me, like, I always felt like I belonged there, even when I was still up, like I would just go to meetings. So I didn't get sober that first time. I went to a treatment in 2013, and that time I was taking it more seriously for sure.
Is that when your mom wrote a letter to Eric Clapton? Because that's
yes.
Did he answer? Okay, so I heard her say on another show, Eric Clapton has a rehab. What's it called? Crossroads.
A Crossroads
in Antigua. Where is it again? It's on like an island,
Antigua,
right?
Yeah.
So did somebody read your letter and answer her? Like who read the letter?
Yeah.
Like that's so cool to me that she wrote to Eric Clapton and mailed it to the rehab.
I know. Well, I didn't even know who Eric Clapton was. I don't think, but like my mom was desperate. We didn't have like, I think we had insurance, but like it didn't cover anything treatment wise, and treatment is so expensive, and my parents were not about to pay for any of that shit, like and rightfully so. That's a lot. It's crazy.
So much money. It's unreal.
Insane.
I know.
Yeah. So she wrote like for them to give me a scholarship, and they did. Wow. And then I was on a flight over there. And I think before this, I'm trying to think, because I had made the jump from the pills to heroin.
Oh, right.
And I had made that jump, which I mean, it's basically the same shit, but like it was a lot cheaper and doing all of that. So, and I don't remember if it was before or after that. It might have been before, because things kind of started getting even more crazy. Once I took that route, it was just like, the people I was with were way worse, and, people were dying, and I'm doing crazy shit and whatever. But so I went to that treatment in 2013, and I was actually a lot more serious this time. And I really half of me always wanted to be sober. I was never like, if I was offered treatment or whatever, which I wasn't. There's a lot of parents that will like try to get their kids to go to treatment and they deny it. My parents were not paying for that shit. So they were like, this is not good. They were not that family that was going to be like, this is a 1,000,000-time thing. Like you have literally like, this is like your chance. Like this is your only chance. So get it together. Like they didn't really understand the concept of like how hard it is and like all of that. But they were like, we're not paying for treatment a bunch of times. So I went to that treatment, and thank God and it was the most beautiful treatment center I've ever been to in my life.
I've seen pictures of it. It looks unbelievable. So also
it's like a resort.
Yeah, it looks like a resort. Were you shooting heroin or just smoking heroin?
So sniffing.
Oh, right. On the East Coast,
we have
you
China.
sniff.
Yeah, we
That's
have
right.
China. So they like sniffing. So I went to, which it wasn't that different from like bringing me back to the days where I was sniffing pills and whatever.
Totally.
It was like kind of the same thing. And so I went to that treatment center. I was more serious about it. I think I was there when I was in there. I think I was there for 4 weeks, maybe 5. And like, I remember I wanted them. I didn't want to go home. I was like, please, like, keep me on. I think the most time you could go was 6 weeks or whatever. And I was like, please just like, let me stay for 6 weeks. Cause I just like I knew that like once I was going home, shit was going to be different. And whatever. So I went home and I went into an IOP, like intensive outpatient. And that went really well. I was going to meetings. I was doing like 90 and 90. I was doing all that. I wasn't working the steps. I was going to the meetings. Like I wasn't actually working the steps, because that just like didn't compute in my brain for some reason, that you actually had, no matter what I was hearing at every single meeting, I just like couldn't get around the fact that like that's what I actually had to do to like probably try to get better. But I was going to meetings every single day. I was doing all of that. And then one of the girls in my IOP I became close friends with, and she was like, oh, like, do you want to come out like to the bar or whatever? And so on my 90 days, I like went out and drank. Like I celebrated. I was like, I'm cured. Like, Love that for me. So went out, started drinking, and that also came with like Coke. And then I tried acid, and like I was like, okay, as long as I'm not doing everything that I was doing before, like I can probably be normal. I was very delusional around my drinking for a really long time because I didn't love drinking like that. And I was like, this is not an issue for me. Even though most of the times when I drank, I drank until I blacked out, like, but like I was just like, I don't need to drink every single day, so that's not a problem for me. So around that time, I started dating this dude. Like me and baby daddy would break, we were broken up at this point. We would break up all the time. I don't even remember what it was, but we like broke up. And then I started dating this other dude who was like normal. Like he was like normal. He wasn't a drug addict, whatever. Like he partied and he drank and whatever. And he not convinced me, but like he didn't really think that I was like an addict. Like I was telling him that I was an addict, like, so he was like, you can come out to the bars, you could do these things. And he meant no harm in that. Like, I know it wasn't like an intentional thing, but I was like, I ate that shit up. I was like, all right, let's go, And then once we started doing like going out and like going to the clubs, and I started doing e-pills again. And for me, like the next day of e-pills is unbearable. Awful. I already don't have the dopamine and serotonin. Like when I do that shit, I want to die the next day.
It's awful.
So like finding a way to deal with that like how I felt the next day was really hard for me, and like getting, just my brain was a mess. And then his mom passed away. She had cancer and she passed away, and she had like pills that were left over at like his house. And I remember I also got my wisdom teeth out around that time, and I was in pain because I was like, I'm in recovery. Sorry, I can't take anything. I told the doctor the right thing, but then I got home and I'm like, I up. Like I am in major, like I had 4 impacted. I was in major pain, and I had just started a new job as a dental assistant. I was just like beyond, and I couldn't function. I was in so much pain. So I ended up taking he didn't even know, like I ended up taking one of those. And then I was right back to where once I took that, and then it became, I was like, my rule was like, okay, you can never go more than 3 days, because then you're going to like get sick, like 3 days, you got to like, I was trying to, control it and just figure it out as best as I can. I had all of these rules. It's like, you can, and that's how I would always start with the opiates again. I would be like, you can do it today, and then the next, like the other day, and then like the third day, but you cannot do it 3 days in a row. And during those days, it just was never realistic, because I was obsessing about it, completely obsessing about it during the times where I wasn't. And then I just ended up full blown again. And then I ended up putting that boyfriend on to pills.
Okay.
Yeah, we started with pills at that time, because I was like, oh, I'm not doing heroin, like I had already done it. It was like, but like I kind of backtracked, and like I started with the pills again, and then went that way. And then we together were like full blown addicts. And then I felt terrible because I dragged his ass into it. And we were together, I think, for like 2.5 years. And I moved in with him, and my kid moved in. And we were like really functional on the outside, though. That was another part of my problem, is like I was really good at hiding it, really, really good at hiding it. And
I know
I
heard you say that you worked for 6 or 7 years as a dental hygienist while being strung out. I don't know how you managed that. And I feel like we all try to do that 3-day thing, but for me, it never worked. Did you actually just only go 3 days and not the 4th? Like, did you manage that, or did you get strung out?
I mean, I would try my hardest, but most of the time, no. And if I did it once, then the next time I tried to do it, I wouldn't. I always ended up right back to doing shit every day, all the time. Like there was no middle ground for me. It was either like all, or even no matter how hard I tried, because I had all of these ideas in my head, and I was like, these will work. Like if I just do it this way, that will work. And then I could just do like a little bit, just like a one time, like, and it just never, I was so delusional. Like I really came up with all of these plans, but they never worked out. But yeah, I was a dental assistant. It was a private office. It was really, we were like a family, and there wasn't a lot of people in the office. And I think that like I said, I'm really good at hiding it. I'm sure there was points where they knew, like, you know what I mean? Because I can remember nodding out as I'm helping the doctor. Like I can remember that, and him being like, Rachel, but I also had like a young kid, and I would blame it on like, oh, Johnny didn't sleep at all last night, and I'm just so tired. I always had some kind of excuse. I always, whatever. There was always something that I could say. And I think that they probably were just like, didn't want to say anything to me. about it, you know, like, because I wasn't really like there was no harm in the office going on. Like, I still did my job really. When I was on opiates, I did my job even better, or, you know, so I thought, like, so there really wasn't a lot of pushback from anyone really at the office. So then time goes on, and like me, I always tried to go back. I always tried to stop. Like, I wanted to be sober so bad. Like, there were so many times, and I would detox myself. I would detox myself at home. I would buy meds off the street, you know, like whatever I needed. And I'm like, Xanax here, gabapentin here, Klonidine here, like all of these things. And I would detox myself at home because I knew my parents weren't fucking doing anything, like, you know, they weren't paying for it. And I was trying to hide it anyways. I didn't want anyone to know. And like, so I would detox myself at home. And then one of the times, I've talked about this 100 times before, but like one of the times where I was like, okay, I'm going to get off heroin, because I would drink, you know, I would drink alcohol. I would try to do all of these things, but I didn't like anything else. Like, it never hit that spot, because there was a lot of times where I would be sober, but then I would be drinking a bottle of wine a night. Like, I always needed something. Like, I always needed something to kind of just like get me out of myself. So this particular time I was like, well, I don't like uppers. Let me smoke crack while I am detoxing.
I love this story.
That was it.
So she tried to use crack as harm reduction, you guys. So to kick heroin, she attempted to use crack to reduce her heroin use. This is probably my favorite part of your story. I think that's fucking hilarious.
I mean, but the way that it made like so much sense. Like, I'm telling you, I thought I had cracked the code with the crack on it. You know, like, I was like, this is going to work and this is going to be fantastic. And it didn't work out like that at all. I became addicted to both. And then once I became addicted to crack and heroin at the same time, I was no longer this like functional on the outside type of girl. I started getting real weird. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating. I was already skinny as hell. Like, I was already so skinny. And then I got like emaciated when I started smoking crack. And I didn't just do it like at night. I was smoking crack in my work. I would go out. I couldn't sit. Now at work, I was being late to work because I would stay up all night in my car smoking and doing shit and smoking Newports, crack and doing shit. And then I would try to sleep for like a half an hour, like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. would roll around. I would try so hard to sleep, and then I would get right back up. I would go in my bathroom, smoke. Okay, I'm getting ready for work. And then I would like be on top. Like, a bitch was up. I was awake all the time, but I couldn't be on time to work anymore because I just needed to keep going. And so then I started being late to work, and then I had these excuses, and then I, couldn't sit between patients anymore. Like, we had these procedures where I had to be in there, and I'm like, I can't sit here. I think I made up that I had a bladder infection or something. Like, I need to go to the bathroom. I'm like, crack is crazy, because it just goes like that, and it's like constant, you need more. And then not only was I just like needing it all the time, but I was also hearing shit and seeing shadow people and like being an absolute psycho. And I really got to the point where I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'm going to unalive myself, right? Like, I am going to kill myself. I cannot do this. Like, it made me absolutely insane. And so I did that. I did that from that first day that I did the crack and the heroin together when I was trying to detox. I ended up going for, I think it was a 6 or 7 month run where I was doing it all day, every day, as I'm taking care of my kid, as I'm working. I didn't lose my job.
I can't believe you didn't lose your job.
Dude, I don't know how I didn't either, but like I was still, even in that time, I guess I would go out to the storage closet and I would do shit. Like, I was like, let me organize the closet. Like, I came up with all of these ways, and I'm sure that they knew, like, I am sure they knew something was going on. Like, there's no way. I just think they didn't have the heart to like say that to me, and I probably wouldn't have taken it good at that point anyways. And like, if I would have lost my job, I loved the family that I worked with. I loved the dentist that I worked with. I loved the girls that I worked with. I truly did. I just was, I was not honest with myself. I couldn't be honest with anyone else. Like, it was just insane. So then one day where I was just like not doing well, I'm just like, absolutely fucking just out here, like really crazy and just not liking my life at all. My old IOP counselor had reached out to me on Facebook Messenger, and he was like, "How you doing, kid?" And like, we were really close. Like, he was like doing a documentary, and a lot of us like as clients were like part of his documentary and like all this. He was like, "How you doing?" I was like, "Not fucking good. You know, like I want to die." So, and then he was like, "All right, well, are you willing to go to treatment?" And I was like, yes. And I always had all of these reasons why I couldn't, right? I'm like, I'm a full-time mom. That's why I tried to detox myself all the time. I'm like, I can't leave my kid. I can't leave my job. They need me. Like all of these things, all of these ideas that I had in my head that was stopping me from going and getting actual help. So I finally was like, yes, okay, yes. And so then he called like my parents and told them, and I think I had told my parents like that I was doing Adderall or some shit. I think they had like found something, and I think because they knew like I was living with my parents like this whole time. I was.
Oh, you were
not living. Yeah, okay. I was not living on my own. So I would go out to my car in the middle of the night and I would smoke, and like I would eventually like nod out or something or fall asleep, and then my dad would come out and like see me in the driveway and be like, "Johnny's up. He's like looking for you," you know? So I would go back inside, you know, it was just this whole thing. So they knew something was up. But anyway, so my old counselor called my parents. They like set it up. I was supposed to go to Florida, but they didn't have any beds at this particular rehab. So they had another location in Austin. So they were like, "Okay, you're going to go to Austin." And I'm like, "Fucking Texas? What? I don't know." Like, cause I'm picturing cowboy hats. I totally really did. Like from New York, I'm like tumbleweeds, fucking horses and carriages. I don't know, like cowboys. So I came to Austin and I did rehab. And I mean, I was so beat down when I left New York that I really thought that I was ready. Like I really thought I was ready to do this. And I was a lot more ready than I was in past times. So I went to Detox and I did that whole thing. Like I did the detox, and then so this treatment center that I went to, they had a separate detox to residential. So you did the detox and then you went to residential, and like they drove you there on like day 7, you know, whatever day you needed to go when you were done detoxing. And the day they give you back your bags and stuff to pack, like the day before you go over to residential. And they gave me back my bags. And because I'm from New York and heroin looks different, they quite literally had a bag of heroin, like a wax paper baggie with a stamp on it. They put it in a Ziploc and it was in my purse. They must have thought it was a piece of paper or some shit like that.
Oh my gosh.
They gave it back to me and now I'm on day 3 of like being off my sub taper. So I'm good. Like I am through all of it. I did that shit immediately. Right. I did it immediately. I'm like, God. You put it in my bag. What am I'm not ready. Like, and I remember just like looking at I'm in my room. I'm trying to pack up my shit to go to and I'm like, in that moment, like the powerlessness, like I was start getting hot, you know, I'm like, I can't not fucking do this, you know, like, so, and it sucked immediately. Like it absolutely was terrible. I felt like I didn't even get high because I still had like sub in my system. I felt terrible. I was like crying. I was like up all night. It like sent me into like, it felt like I was like in precipitated withdrawal again. I go the next morning. I don't think I slept at all that night. And I told the counselor in the morning, I'm like, "You guys left this in my bag. And I just wanted to let you know I did it. Okay. I did it." And I was just like, and then they were like, "Okay, well, we don't know if you're going to go to residential now. Cause we got to like figure this out. You just did that, whatever we have to," but I ended up going and like, and then it was just like, the universe was punishing me for fucking doing that. Cause I had to start basically like, because I was already through my detox.
You get sick again.
Like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I met a boy. I was in there so sick. I remember I brought like a bunch of like fleece onesies. Like it was winter in Texas, so it wasn't really that cold here, but I was like 98 pounds. So I was just like, I had these like onesies that I would wear, like pajama, zip up animal onesies and shit. And then I met a boy and he offered me his Seroquel. He was like, "Are you feeling so sick?" Like he offered me like a Seroquel that night or whatever. Cause I was like dying and I was like, "Oh my God, I love you."
You should make maybe you already have. Have you made a TikTok about him giving you his Seroquel? Because that's like the most romantic thing. That's like
first sight.
That's like how a normal chick would feel if you gave her like flowers on the first date. If they give you Seroquel, like you're in love.
Thank you. But he like cared about that I was so sick. He was like, oh my God, like here, like, because they're not going to give you anything else. Because I wasn't sleeping. I hadn't slept for fucking forever. Like that was like the worst thing for me during withdrawals. Like the not sleeping was fucking driving me insane. So he came over and, offered me Seroquel, and then we, automatically, like, connected like this, and I got the rehab boyfriend, right, and I went through that process, and I really did want to be sober, like, I really did. I was doing all of the things that I was supposed to do. I got a sponsor, like, when I was in treatment, I started working the steps, but what happened was I wasn't 1,000% focused on my program because I was focused on this boy, right, and that's what happened, and we got out, we went to the same, like, they had this community of sober livings that, like, we're all very near to each other, and they had men's houses and women's houses. So I was like, we have to go there like together, like we have to go to the same sober livings and whatever. And we were just, that codependent rehab love, like we were in love. Nobody could tell us the freaking thing. We got in trouble while we were like put on contract when we were in treatment, but we were like, oh my God, we can't wait till we get out of here. And like, we're going to stay sober forever. And like all of these things. And so we went to the same like coordinating sober livings, and because I wasn't fully focused, like I was doing my program, but I wasn't fully 1,000% focused, I got hit with a craving out of nowhere at one of our big book studies for the sober living, and I made up my mind in that moment. I'm like, I'm relapsing. Like I had an amazing day with this dude and his friend. Like we had an amazing day. I think we did like an H&I, like we were doing shit. Like, it wasn't like I was just like planning to do this, but I got hit with the biggest craving out of nowhere for no reason. And I was like, this is it. I'm done. Like, that's it. I didn't tell any of my friends. I didn't tell on myself. I didn't call my sponsor. I didn't do anything. My mind was made up. Like,
How did you find something when you were in Austin?
There was some other girl in my sober living that I had a feeling that she was already doing shit. So I asked her. And she was, and I was like, okay, like, let's go. Cause I hadn't done anything in Austin before. So I was like, I don't even know where to find anything, whatever. But these people, most of the people were from Austin or had been there for a couple years or whatever. So we went out and tried to find some shit, and they have tar in, Texas, which was not my thing. I didn't like tar. Like I was like a China white type of girl, So I was like, all right, let's smoke some tar. And like immediately I was just like, ugh, this is not my favorite. I'm like already fucked up. And then I was like, okay, well now we gotta find some crack, I couldn't find that. I couldn't find it. And so when I relapsed, I got kicked out of my sober living. So I went back to my sober living that night. I don't remember how they found out. I'm sure they just fucking knew. I think maybe I came back past curfew or something, and like the house manager and like the owner lady came, and they're like, you got to take a drug test, dude. Like, you got to take a drug test. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm done. Like, I'm done. So I had to leave, and then I went to a motel. There was a bunch of other people from my rehab that had also relapsed. So we just had like a relapse party, like a rehab relapse party. And that's usually how it goes. And I think 4 out of like 6 or 7 people that I was with on that relapse are dead now.
Shit.
All of them.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So wait, did the boyfriend come with you?
No, he didn't relapse. He did not relapse in that time. He did down the line. So him and this girl that I was like best friends with in rehab, like we basically like once I relapsed, I told her that I relapsed, and she was also relapsed. So like we got together, we were all at this hotel. We like left, both of our boyfriends were sober. We like left them. We were like all hanging out together, and we like basically like left his house in the middle, like fucking dipped and caught an Uber at like this gas. Like we left, and they were really worried about us. They were like pissed, and they were doing sober thing. They were not trying to relapse, but we were like fucking running and gunning. So we went to a hotel. We got to the hotel. I was like, I'm trying to find some crack. I like need to find it, whatever. We met a meth dealer named like fucking CUDA or something like that at the motel. Like it's so funny when you're in those situations, how you just like like you just find this shit. So he was like a couple doors down and we were like, yo, like, what's good or whatever, like, what do you got? And like, he had meth. I had never tried meth before. It's not what I was looking for, but I was like, I'm already out on a relapse, man. Might as well do it all, you know? So I did meth. I didn't very much like it, but I did it for 7 days straight. So I was doing meth. I was doing the tar. I was doing all that shit. And like, my friend was freaking tricking in the room. And like, there was just
While you were there?
That whole week. Mm-hmm. I would go in the bathroom and I would go in the bathroom and I would just be smoking. Like there was a lot on that relapse, which I have never, this is going to be exclusive information. Like there was a lot going on in that whole thing. The drug dealer started staying in our room because he was like, oh, I'll just like, whatever, like I'll give you guys this stuff and I'll just stay in here. And like meth is so weird because that time felt, the way that the time went during that time. And then my friend got a sugar daddy and then we're like going over to his house and then like he was like feeding us and like taking us to all these places during it was just absolutely like, the whole thing was just like absolutely insane. Like so much went on, but it's like a blur at the same time. So this is 7 days of absolute chaos. And I was miserable. Like I was going along with it. I was doing the thing, but I remember just being like, this is fucking terrible. And I hate this. Like, but I still just had to like get it out of my system, I guess. And then by the end of that, so like, it was like every day someone else would like drop off and they would be done, or they would be like going back to detox or like, you know, something else. So by the end, it was like me and my girlfriend, and then she went with her sugar daddy. So it was like just me by myself. So I like went and we had to be out of that hotel because they like knew some shit was going on. I think we got kicked out. And so I went to a Motel 6 by myself, and then nobody would talk to me. Nobody would like hang out with me. And then I was like alone in psychosis in a Motel 6 by myself, pulling my freaking body hairs out with tweezers, being weird, picking my body, like just being a fucking weirdo, hearing shit, seeing shit. And so I begged to be taken back into detox. Like I called the rehab, and like I was so delusional because when I planned to relapse, I was like, oh, they loved me so much, they'll let me back in for free. Bitch, free? That's how delusional I am. Yeah. Like, they literally loved me. They'll let me back in for free. No, my dad had to pay again. Thankfully, this time I only needed like a couple days of detox because it was only a week. Like I only needed a couple days of detox, and then I went right to PHP. So I didn't have to go back into residential or anything like that. But that time around, they were like, if we take you back in here, that like no boys, like you're done, like absolutely no more. I had to break up with my boyfriend for a little bit and just focus on my program. And I have been sober since then. He ended up relapsing.
That's the time?
This time. After that 7-day relapse here in Austin and being in a Motel 6 and me begging for them to take me back, I have been sober since then. Since I was just like, all right, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Just tell me to do it and I'll do it. I don't know if I'm going to like all the things, but like I'll do it. And yeah, I've been sober since April 6th. 2018.
Which is next week. So,
yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. But that boyfriend overdosed, right? Do you ever...
Yes.
I heard you say that on another podcast. So did he join you, and were you there when he relapsed?
No.
What happened with him?
No. So I went back to treatment. So we didn't see each other for a while because I was in treatment and he was still sober. And then I had heard through the great, because I loved this man. Like when I tell you, I was so in love with him, but we had to like separate for a little while. And he was pissed that I relapsed. Like he was like, and during my relapse, there was actually one day of my relapse, which I totally forgot about. He came and stayed with me when I was using, and I was like I don't think I used in front of him, but like, you know, just he was so worried about me that whole entire time. And he did not relapse. One time we were at another Motel 6 when I was still with 3 girls, and him and that other dude that I was talking about that were both still sober at the time came and like picked us up and tried to like save us, you know, and we kept just like running away from them and like relapsing. So he was like beat down. He was like, he sent me paragraphs of like, dude, like, I can't believe you're doing this. And like, all of this, he was just like very disappointed in me, rightfully so. Like I was just running away and running and gunning and whatever. And so I went back to treatment. We had to separate for a little bit, but like I kept tabs on him. And then I heard when I had like a month or two sober that he was like starting to like, he's been seen with this girl drinking again, like going drinking or whatever. And I'm like, oh shit, now I'm fucking worried about him. So I got in contact with him and we started talking again. He was like, no, like I'm fine. Like I'm just doing this and this, like I'm fine. Then, you know, what do you know? He starts using and he hits me up and one random night and I'm a couple months sober. I think I was probably like 60 days in at this point, and he's like, I think I'm gonna like I can't see, I'm driving and I like can't see, like I took a bunch of Xanax and I'm doing dope, like I am not okay, like can you come stay with me? I'm in Oxford. So I'm in Oxford. Like I had rules, I had a curfew, all of this. And I just loved this man so much. And I was so worried. So I like left my sober living in the middle of the night and I went to his house. He got a house. He like got out of sober living, like was doing his thing, whatever. And so I went to his house and I laid in bed with him the entire night just to make sure he was just like breathing. Like I just listened to him. I stayed up the whole night and just made sure he wasn't overdosing. Like, and in that night we got a lot of closure on a lot of things because there was some fucked up shit that happened. Like when I was in treatment, there was like, you know, drama, like just a bunch of drama. And I got a lot of closure on a lot of things that night. And he didn't really want, I feel like he almost prepared me for his death because he would say things. We would, you know how I joke about death a lot with my friends, and like especially in that time, like newly sober, it's like we did a lot of very dark humor joking, especially about death and like things like that. And a week before he died, he was just like, if I ever die, can you just not shit talk me at my funeral? Like, I know I probably deserve it and like whatever, but can you just like not shit talk me and whatever? So we were in communication a lot, and like our whole community knew how much I love this man. So then all of a sudden I get a phone call from someone, you know, like a few weeks later, and they tell me that Tommy's dead. And I'm like, huh? Like, what? Because he had gone to detox. He had gone back to detox and he was like trying to get it together. But I think he got out and like, you know how this shit goes. And I didn't believe it at first. I was a complete shock. And like the rehab wanted me to go over to their like community center immediately because I hadn't gotten my Vivitrol shot. Everyone thought I was going to relapse. Like everyone was like immediately like, Rachel is going to go off the fucking deep end. Like they all thought that. They literally were like, get her to the center right now so she can get her Vivitrol shot and like all this. Like, but for the first time ever, and I've lost other people close to me. I've lost boyfriends before, you know, as part of how this life goes, right? I've lost a lot of people, too many people that have been super close to me. But this death hit me different. Like for the first time, I wasn't, oh my God, I need to like escape this and I need to go use. I was like, this is going to motivate me to be sober. Like, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like, I felt as soon as he passed, even that night, like, because I had already started like my relationship with my higher power and like, you know, praying and all of this. And like, as soon as he died, I'm like, dude, motherfucker, like, show me a sign that you're still with me, right? I woke up in the morning, I had a coffee cup and like that I had left out, I think for like a couple hours or whatever. And the creamer was in the shape of a heart. Like, you know how like when creamer kind of like, not curdles, but like I have the fucking picture and everything. I was like, oh my God. So I felt like I just felt so differently and I was connected to things now. And like, I knew that like he was still somehow with me and there's this plan for things, even when things absolutely fucking suck. And I still miss him every single day to this day. Like, love him to death, but I talk to him all the time. You know, people always tell me in my videos they see all these orbs and whatever, and I'm like, I got all the homies are dead, you know, but they're still here, I guess. So yeah, he died, and I just continued with my sobriety, and it was just very different from what it used to look like with me when shit like that would happen. So that was very much like an eye-opening experience for me because I was just like, wow, like I've never dealt with something like this in this way before. And I just dove into my program and I dove into my recovery like that much more. And yeah, like I worked the steps. I started sponsoring other women. I was doing H&Is. I was doing meetings. I was very avid in like my morning meditation and prayer and like my nightlies and like looking at myself and just really over time, I was in Oxford sober living for a while, and the women in that house taught me how to, you know, hold myself accountable, how to let other people hold me accountable and call me on my shit and like not take it personally. And I grew, you know, just within the first year. I'm still growing today, right? Like, let's be clear, I grow every day. I'm not perfect. I definitely have my moments, but within the first year, I grew like spiritually, emotionally, like I grew so much in that year, and it was just like completely life changing. So I did the sober living for 7 months. I moved out with a friend of mine. We got an apartment, and that itself was like a big fucking deal. That was like huge, right? And like I had this job, and I'm getting an apartment, and now I'm moving my kid back down with me. But before that happened, I took a trip back to New York, right? So Tommy died, and then I had a couple other like relationships that did not go well, like at all. Like I had like 3 short relationships that all just went like terribly. And so I was in a really weird like headspace. I'm like, the love of my life is dead. I can't, like, this is, you know, I don't know. I was just so... My baby daddy and I, who were always like in communication, we're always friends. We were on and off for so many years. We always like had this pact. We're like, okay, if neither of us is like married or whatever, we're going to have another kid by the time we're like 30, right? Like we had that pact like for a long ass time, but it was just like a silly, goofy thing. But I went home to New York, and neither one of us were in like a really great headspace of thinking things through. And we actually got pregnant accidentally.
Oh my gosh.
I went for 3 days, and we weren't together. Like we were just, okay. I was just in a really, yeah.
So I've actually always wondered about this, because you've got the 2 kids and they've got an age difference, and I assumed it was a different dad. And then when I listened to one of your podcasts, I was like, wait, how is this the same guy? But they have the same dad. That's how that happened. Okay, because yes. I have been wondering about that.
So we had Johnny in 2010. We went through periods where we were like together, not together, and he got sober himself, actually. So let me rewind. He got sober, I think, in 2013. I think, for a few years. So he was sober.
Okay.
Before I went and got sober, he was sober. So we had Johnny in 2010, and then we were like on and off. Then we broke up, especially like before I came to Austin, we've been broken up for a while. But when either of us when we were both single, we would just like always like, I guess, try to like whatever. So like I had gone through all of this stuff in Austin, and it just seemed like a comfortable place to be, right? Like I went home and I visited, I stayed with him because my son was living with him there. So it like made sense. And then that freaking happened. So I come back to Austin, and I didn't know yet. Like I didn't know that was a thing yet. So I come back to Austin. I'm like, oh man, I'm pregnant. Okay, well, then he's still living in New York, right? We're not planning on like being together. Like it was just like a very not thought through thing at all. So he ends up being like, okay, well, I'm moving there. I'm going to move there like tomorrow. Like I'm like, first of all, I'm literally just pregnant. You don't need to move here right yet. Like calm down. Cause he like quit his job, came down to Austin, no money saved, no fucking nothing. Like, you know, came down here, rushed down when there was really no need for it. And then our oldest also moved with us. And as soon as he moved in, it was just like, I was like, oh my God, this is a mistake. Like this was a mistake, him moving in. And it was just like, we were not on the same wavelength at all. And I had known that, like I had kind of like known that, because I'm like, me and this man want to fight each other so often that like, this is not going to work. But I'm like, well, we're pregnant, so we might as well like try, I guess. We might as well try. But as soon as he came in my house, I was like, he's taking up all my space. He's making a mess. Like, I don't want... We started getting into arguments, like, a lot. And he also did not tell me before he moved that he had started socially drinking again.
Oh, okay.
Well, I didn't know that. He didn't tell me that. So he came down here. He started working in the restaurant industry, in the service industry. There's a lot of stuff that goes on there. And he was drinking. And I'm like, whatever, if you're drinking. Because when he got sober, he never worked a program, which was wild to me. He stayed sober for years so I was like, maybe you weren't an addict. Maybe it was just a physical thing to opiates. Like, maybe you really weren't. I don't know, because I could never do that. Then he starts hanging out with people from work, starts doing Adderall, I guess. Like one day I found like a Xanax in his pants, and I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, oh, it's someone at the bar. They just I was holding it for. I'm like, bitch, I know what's going on here, right? Like, and he wouldn't admit anything to me, and like things got really, really bad. I kicked him out of the apartment. I was like, you gotta go. This is not working. I knew that some shit was off about him. It turned out he had relapsed, and then he like went off the deep end for years. So I was doing everything by myself. Like I basically had Silas by myself. We had to get a protective order because he was doing meth. And that was
Were you alone giving birth in labor, or did your parents come down?
He was there. He came because we didn't find out exactly. Like I knew for a while that he was doing something, but he wouldn't admit it. And like, so there was really nothing I could do for a little bit until he got like, until this like crazy, violent incident happened. And then I was like, then we got a protective order. I was like, I know some shit's going down, right? So my mom had come down to kind of be with me when I had the baby. So he was there, he was like in the room when it happened, but like just for that. And then he was out. He wasn't there the rest of the time. And I didn't want him there because his ass was pissing me off. And I just knew. I'm like, I remember at the hospital, I kept calling him because I'm like, if you want to be on this birth certificate, you need to come sign it. There's like, it's about to be done. Like, you need to be here if you want to be on it. And like, it was such a hard time. He was just being so fucking weird. Like, when some shit's going on.
Yeah.
And he came in like just to sign it, stayed for like 10 minutes. And like, I just knew that he was doing some shit. And so we had a major incident when Silas was like 4 years old, where he came over after probably not sleeping for days, and some shit went down, and it was involving him against like me and the kids. And it was insane at my apartment. I had to call the cops. And then after that, I knew what he was fucking doing, and we had a protective order. So we basically went through all of this hell with him because he was sick and he was using, but he was just like out of his mind for like 3 years. So then he got arrested January of last year, and he's, thank the Lord, just coming up on, he just hit a year this year.
Oh, good.
So he's back around.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
He's back.
Because I listened to you on Sober Motivation with Brad.
Yeah.
And he was still using at that time. Mm-hmm. But that was a year and a half ago. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Okay, that's awesome.
So he's staying with us now.
Oh, cool. Okay.
The last year has been, so like since him getting sober, when he was in jail, the first couple weeks, his best friend died, his dad died, and then his mom just died a couple months ago. So like it's been a really tough year. There's been a lot of stuff going on, but we're very proud of him. He's been doing all the things that he's supposed to be doing. He stays with us here. He's around the boys. He's doing great now. Okay, so thank God, because she was rough. Yeah, it was really rough for a long time. But the difference is now, like we have never been sober together, him and I. Even when he came from New York to Austin, he was already like drinking, and like both of us still had so much growing to do. We have not even gotten into one argument. And when I tell you, anybody that knows us would not even believe that. It's like insane. So these are the gifts that like recovery can give me, the amount of emotional, growth that I have done, where I don't need to react in situations, and neither does he, which is wild to me because I've never seen that in my life. It's just like, these are the things. And I always believe that things have the perfect timing of happening and working out on their own. So it's like a trust the process type of thing.
Totally. So really quickly, I do want to ask you a little bit about your recovery too. Is that okay? Do you have a little bit more time? Okay. Because I love that you said also Oxford House. People love Oxford House. Anytime I make a sober living skit, which are just jokes, I'm super glad that I lived in sober living. In the comments, I always get somebody being like, I lived at Oxford House and not me. Oxford House was awesome. Like they get like so, and I'm like, whatever they're doing, they're building like a loyal fan base for sober living, which is great. So do you do NA or AA? What's your main?
I do AA.
AA. Okay.
I do AA. I did NA. So that was another experience that I do AA here, but I was like raised on NA back in New York. because that's more prominent. So I feel like depending on the area you go, like I know NA is huge in Florida and stuff like that. For me, when I came to Austin, they have AA, but they also have HA, like Heroin Anonymous, CA, CMA. So for every kind, it's a lot more inclusive here that's what I found is like, compare back to New York, there was a lot of old timers. It was very old school. Like you couldn't call yourself an addict. Like you felt, but here in Austin, the AA scene is a lot more inclusive and not as, judgmental, I feel like. So yeah, I work out of the Big Book.
So what was your, people that have completed the steps, I always love to ask this, what was your favorite step or the most transformative step, would you say, and why? If you have one.
1, 2, and 3, I think were just like so essential for me, because there was so long. I mean, all of them, all of the steps are like essential to where I'm at today. But for me, 1, 2, and 3, especially my relationship with a higher power and being able to like turn that is like, if I don't have that, I can't do the rest of anything in the steps, and realizing that like I can never manage. And there's situations today in my life, right, that I have to realize are sometimes unmanageable. It doesn't even have to do with drugs and alcohol. And that's what I always say about a program. Like, I'm like, anybody, real people, normal people should have a program because this can help. It's not just addicts and alcoholics. The way that it can transform just your way of thinking is insane to me. So yeah, I would have to say 1 through 3 are like the most where I really was able, because I didn't believe in God for a long time and I didn't believe in anything and I didn't have any relationship with anything. And I think for a long time, that's where I was lacking just any kind of like spiritual connection. So that really, really, really changed my life. Absolutely. And then obviously like step 4 and 5, right? That's where I actually got to look at myself and take my inventory, and then 10 through 12. So basically all the steps, I guess.
So
all of them.
Yeah, I feel the same way. How did you, because that was my next question, if you didn't believe in God before, how did you develop a relationship that worked for you? Because a lot of people, I feel like that's one of the main hangups to 12-step is people just get stopped at that I don't believe in a higher power thing. How did you develop that relationship?
So for me, I had a sponsor that did some of the work. So like for step, I think it was, I don't know if it was for step 2 or 3, but she had this thing. It was like, put down all of the qualities of like your ideal parent. Like if you could have any parent in the world, what qualities would you want them to have? Like forgiving, caring, like all of these things. And then we related that to like, that would be the qualities of what my higher power would have, right? And also for me, not believing in anything, I had to realize I always used to get really caught up. I was raised Roman Catholic, so I was like, okay, this is my idea. When I think of God, I guess that's what I think of, right? And I had to kind of like put that over here and realize that I don't need an exact definition for whatever my higher power is. And that really helped me. Like, cause I had a friend in rehab who was kind of in the same boat, and he would call his higher power Jeff Gordon. There was like some NASCAR. It was so fun, those inside like rehab jokes or whatever. But for me, once I realized that like I didn't need a definition and I could find my higher power through people in the rooms, through other people just on a daily basis, through nature, through music, through all of these things. And I don't need like a concrete definition for that. That helped me tremendously. And my sponsor said, just start praying. Like, and in the beginning it felt weird, right? Like I had to like kind of tune in and like develop that relationship. And after a little while it worked. And I was like, whoa, holy shit, here we are, you know?
I love that process because I think a lot of people get hung up there. You also mentioned a morning meditation routine while you were at Oxford. What did that look like? And do you still do that, or do you do something similar? What was that?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's morphed and changed a little bit over the years, but I get up and I normally, for me, meditation with like music or something, like I'll pop in my earbuds and I'll either find like even like a little 5-minute guided meditation on either an app or YouTube. And I'll listen to that first to kind of just like get me in like a headspace where I can, feel more connected. And then I do my prayer after. I always say the 7th step prayer. What is it? The
The third step prayer?
Third step prayer and the...
Seventh is the other one.
Seventh.
Okay.
The character defects one.
Yeah. Seventh. Okay.
Yeah, so I say those two because your girl needs a lot of, or whatever else like I'm going through, like if I'm going through other stuff, and then I kind of say my own stuff. I'm like, hey, like, please help me be of service today. Help me stay connected to you and like reach out instead of freaking out on people, or these are the things that I'm trying to like, show me the process and show me what I need to be doing today and things like that, or things that I need help with or whatever. So that's what it really looks. It's pretty chill. I'm just like, I have a very cash relationship with
that's how
my
I am
higher
too.
power.
That's
and I'm just like, yeah.
I'll be like, dude, seriously.
Help.
Yeah. I need help. I'll say, dude. So,
yeah.
So TikTok, because your career as a content creator exploded and you got on TikTok. I also think it's so funny. You share this on Sober Motivation. You have a Facebook status that pops up and says, if I ever get a TikTok account, punch me straight in the face.
Yeah,
I think that's so hilarious.
Every year.
Because that's how I felt too, until I got on it and saw all the recovery stuff. So you got on it and you started talking about being a mom at first, right? And it started to grow. Were you funny in high school and in rehab and in middle school? Like, have you always been the funny girl, or did that come out later?
I've always been really goofy. Okay. Like, I've talked about it before. When I was even a kid, like with the home video camera, I used to do a lot of like really goofy skits with like my friends and like my brother and, all of these things. So it's so wild to look at it because it's like, this is what I used to do for fun as a kid.
Yeah.
And now I have like a job in it. But yeah, I've always been goofy because I always feel like I wasn't very, on paper attractive for a lot of my life. And I feel like I really had to lean in to my personality. So yeah, I was always, I always leaned on like the goofy, the funny thing.
So it starts to take off. And then when did you start being able to do it full time?
I think it's been like almost I don't know if it's been, girl, listen, time is scary, okay? Because I can't think. It's been 1 year or 2 years, I think. And yeah, so I started realizing like once I got on Facebook and I started just on TikTok, and I remember being like because TikTok is different than all the other apps, and I remember being scared to repost like my TikToks to other places. I remember being nervous. I'm like, they're just not going to get it.
I still am.
They're not going to understand.
Yeah, I still am. Like, I'll post stuff on Instagram that crushed on TikTok, and I will get the most like hateful comments of people not getting it. And on Facebook in particular, I've had to even say, like, this is the TikTok trend. It's a joke. Take it easy.
They never get it on Facebook. They're always like, what is this? This doesn't even make sense. Yeah, no, TikTok is vicious. I mean, Facebook is vicious. Like, I have vicious. But like, so TikTok is like my favorite where the vibes are, like
totally.
The people get me over there like 99% of the time. It's very rare that I get any like people that don't get me. Then Instagram is number 2 for like that. But Facebook be wilding sometimes.
Yeah,
they're
totally.
just like,
totally.
They just don't get it. Things just go whoop, like right over a lot of people's heads and whatever. But so once I started building up, I got over that fear and I started posting on my other platforms and building those platforms as well. Like just reposting what I posted on TikTok. And it took a little while, like it took a little minute. And then once I started doing my like flat booty content and stuff like that, then that like got reshares. And then I like started blowing up on Instagram, and then same with Facebook. And then now it's just like crazy, like I never would have thought in my whole life. Like,
dude, the affirmations things is so funny. So guys, what she's talking about is she has something called affirmations where she looks at her booty because she's a tiny little thing and we'll say like the most hilarious affirmations about having like a big booty. It's hilarious. That's, I think, where I first came across you. So
yeah, that's what kind of that, and that's funny because there's so many different, I'm really lucky that I didn't get stuck in like one niche, because I started off with mom content and then I like sprinkled in a little bit of recovery content. And then it's like, I do comedy content, and I never had an issue with people just like liking all of it. Cause I know a lot of creators get like really narrowed into one spot. So I've been very lucky with that, where I haven't had that so far. And Yeah, the positive affirmations is where I think things really started taking off. Because not only, because I did a lot of recovery stuff for a long time, and I know there was a lot of people who didn't relate, but now they can have something that they related to. And I'm just like, it's multifaceted, where we got a lot going on.
So how do you see the rest of your career and life unfolding? Like, you were talking about a TikTok series, but TikTok may be getting banned, right? So how are you navigating this and creating a life, and what's your plan for it moving forward?
So I just started on YouTube.
I saw that.
Well. So
you already have 13,000 subscribers, my friend.
I know.
I looked the other day and I was like, this bitch, she's been on it for like a week. She's already got 13,000 followers.
It was that clickbait post. It was the cheating Theo Von.
Oh yeah, I went to jail and got cheated on last night. Yes, I did see that. Because YouTube is where the real money is, I think. I'm trying to navigate to there too. Well, that's what Abby says. Yeah. I mean, it's like...
Right. She just hit 1 million. Well, she's out of this world on YouTube.
She bought a house. She bought a house.
That's insane. Yeah, so, that's insane. So I'm trying to branch out over there. Plus, for 2 years now, I've been putting it on. I've been procrastinating, like doing the longer form content and doing all that, because I just feel like there's so much more you can do when you have more time and like doing all that. I have found that it's a lot harder with edit. It takes a lot more time, not just with recording, but with editing and doing all that. So I'm trying to find the groove of that. And ideally, I would like to. I've been toying with the idea of opening a sober living over here in Austin. I'm trying to also like branch out so that I'm also, because let's be real, like content creation is not the most secure job. So I am also trying to branch out and find ways that I can be profitable, but also like what's really important to me is like helping people. Like I want to be able to help people and put these resources out there and like do all of these things. So ideally I will find something that I can go into business with that will also help people at the same time. And then that would be like the perfect thing. And then if all this social media shit goes away, I'll still have something to fall back on. So hopefully that will be. And also I'm going to make a podcast at some point.
Oh, you are? Oh, good.
As a guest. Yeah. I don't know what that looks like because I have no idea about podcast, like what it actually entails and whatever.
It's crazy easy to set up. When you're ready, let me know. It is wildly easy to set up. I thought it was like a whole thing and you had to have a producer, and it's not necessarily like that. And I don't know if you mean the other project or if you mean on your own. But if you do it on your own, let me know. It's very easy to set up. It's actually really easy to set up.
I'm so bad with shit like just the process of like I put so many things off because I just in my head I'm like, this is so hard. This is so much work. Too. Like all of these like things that I have to do and set up. So like that's how it was for me with YouTube. And now like people have been asking me to do a podcast for like forever. So like I'm gonna try to branch out to that as well at some point.
Well, you would have such an advantage because you have a built-in listenership from the rip. Like as soon as you said on TikTok, I've started one, people would go to it immediately. And that's something that's really like got some, longevity.
I know. I have the best supporters ever, for real.
Speaking of your supporters, where can everybody find you?
So I'm on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook at Rachel Elizabeth X0. Oh, and YouTube. I don't know if I said that. YouTube. I think that's all the places.
All the places. And and it's Rachel Elizabeth everywhere, right?
Yeah, Rachel Elizabeth X0 is my actual handle. So if you type that in, it will come up. Yeah.
And I really think you should do stand-up too. I think you should get into some classes.
I'm gonna work up towards it. I am for the people. I'm gonna work up towards it.
When you record like in your car, do you do that one take, or do you do a few takes and then go back and edit, or is it typically just one?
So I think that's also why stand-up I think is a little more scary, because I'm really good at coming like just going with whatever is in my mind at that moment. I think planning things is a little harder for me to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like if I'm trying to do, like if I'm doing a voiceover or something like that, obviously like I have to like memorize the voice or whatever. But like when it comes to actual content, I usually just go straight from my head in the moment. And I think that's what scares me about stand-up is like, because usually you have to have some kind of routine. I feel a little more uncomfortable with like a routine because I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to forget. And then like my brain's working too hard on it. And then it's just like.
But see, I think that would make you better because you can do it just off the cuff without having to. So I think live, you would actually be better than you think. If you are able to just sit down, pull out the phone and just talk. I think live you could, once you got past the nerves, I think that you would, I think you would do great.
I hope.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, I cannot thank you enough for your time. I'm so glad that I finally got to connect with you. And I've had so many people request you over the years too. So I know my audience is going to be so happy that they got to chat with you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
This was super fun. I really, really appreciate it.